Welcome to Talking Tech Journeys, hosted by me, Ben Whiteley of BPM Tech. We're delighted to bring you season 1 of Talking Tech Journeys. The aim is clear, to bring you some of the most engaging and respected figures within tech and transformation, providing a snapshot of their journeys to share knowledge, ideas and insights on all things tech and transformation. Sit back, relax and enjoy the journey. Hi, welcome to Talking Tech Journey Season 1. I'm Ben Whiteley. I'm delighted to be joined by Anthony Pugh, Project Portfolio Lead at UK-based law firm Shakespeare Martineau. Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Ben. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to this. So just before we sort of crack on, quick brief summary of who you are and what you're about. Follower of poor football, an empathetic leader with extensive experience in leading and delivering complex projects, executing robust program strategies, mitigating potential risks, improving processes. So looking forward to delving a bit deeper in terms of all that, Anthony. So just before we start and get into it a bit further, it would just be great for a quick introduction and summary of yourself and your tech journey.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Ben. So my journey is about 15 years in tech, and I started off in retail and moved very recently into law. Worked in various retail companies, predominantly in the FTSE 100 sector, and lots of fast-paced moving goods as well.
Mm-hmm.
Journey's been from ground zero in tech all the way to where I am at the moment now. So varied pieces and lots of built up my skill set from those companies.
Brill. Obviously, yeah, appreciate the summary. We'll obviously delve straight into it. So, yeah, I mean, taking you back then, Anthony, how, why, when did you sort of first become interested in technology?
Yeah, so I think from my point of view, it's probably started just as I was leaving college. So dropped out of college. I'm in that sector of where we still had a bit of pen and paper, but started to get used to tech. And then I went into administration for the corporate mobile sector to start off with. Did a few years there. Noticed that market was getting very saturated with all the big players, and wanted to delve into understanding tech a bit more, because it was something that I was looking at when I was at college anyway.
Yeah.
So that's when I got my start in tech, going to Morrison's and starting on the service desk. And it was just kind of getting a bit of information and understanding and learning more than anything else of the world of tech.
Yeah. No, that's good to know. And obviously, so you touched on your first job there. It'd be good just to explore a bit further. So you mentioned sort of mobile. I mean, how did this sort of shape you and set you up on your journey?
Yeah, so mobile phones, they were at the stage where they were starting to get a bit more technology involved in them. So it wasn't just your usual phone calls and text messages. There was a bit to it as well. And it was working when I started working at BT, one of their small franchises, that it started to become a bit more tech savvy, and that's where I picked up my interest and then moved into the world of bigger technology, but in retail. After seeing that market was saturated at mobile phone level, moved into that at Morrison's, and it was very eye-opening, to be honest with you, and completely blew my mind to start off with the difference between the two. Absolutely.
What, just sort of the size, culture?
Yeah, I mean, I'd gone from a company that was no more than 18, 20 people to Morrison's, which was absolutely massive. Several hundred stores in the UK, but not just stores. They had warehouses, logistics, manufacturing, and everything came into the service desk. So big piece. And it was also working on systems that I'd never even heard of or seen of before.
Yeah, sure.
Some of them being really ancient, like mainframe, which is, some people will know what that is. Some people won't have a clue, but legacy mainframe, which black and white and very old commands that bring up then other bits and pieces. So it was getting to understanding all the variances of tech within Morrison's, and yeah, it was quite mind blowing.
So quite a good sort of foundation and base, and in terms of, like say, a lot of things and queries and expectations from the service desk. So give you a sort of good sort of understanding and variety of all the different systems, platforms, how everything works.
Yeah, to be honest with you, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think that's probably the biggest platform and best platform to work from is going into a service desk, because you get to know the different systems and the different ways that things work and how they work from a business point of view. So you get a good all-round view of how technology fits into different areas of the business. And it's also the fact is you get to communicate internally to colleagues as well.
Yeah, sure.
So that gives you a good resonance of stakeholders and understanding who wants what, how these things work, and prioritization.
Yeah, no doubt, quite demanding in terms of obviously some of the challenges in sort of the service and the service desk and ticketing and managing sort of different stakeholders and expectations. Something that's probably set you in good stead for where you are now.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, first of all, you've got several hundred different people that are ringing into a service desk with different types of agendas, different skill sets of technology, starting from store people that don't know a lot about tech. Some store people do. And then you've got the people that think they know absolutely everything. And then you have to kind of bring them back down to reality to understand that that's not the best way of doing something. So yeah, broad spectrum that's helped me along my career, definitely.
So I mean, you were there at Morrison's for what, 8, 9, 10 years. I mean, what other sort of roles and opportunities did you sort of explore there?
Yeah, so Morrison's was longest I've been anywhere. Set me on the foundation, starting off in the service desk, doing frontline, so password resets and very basic stuff. Moved into the back office team, which is where we spent a little bit longer on problems to resolve. So you've got 30 minutes, 45 minutes, a bit more techie. So that was kind of the first couple of years. And then I moved into the role which was called knowledge leader, which effectively is a bit of a service transition role. And what that was it was updating the knowledge base articles, doing the rotas, but also you were the first point of contact for any new projects coming into the service desk. So understanding the impacts for the desk. So would that generate additional calls, which means additional resources for a certain length of time? Is the new knowledge base articles that are needed? And also I would be the person that then would go out and help out with the projects that would be going live. And at that time, Morrison's never stops, and it's very much hands-on. So it takes away the pressures of you going out to sites, being that person that's a focal point for the service desk, takes away the pressure of the service desk that they've got, which then you can then refine the knowledge articles and work with the teams that are on site there to then input that into the knowledge base, which then gives the rest of the guys a better understanding, and also takes pressure off the techie teams that are outside of the service desk that were doing stuff. So that's where I got a nice liking for projects as well.
Yeah, well, that's a good transition. I know obviously you sort of just touched on your time there at Morrison's, and I know from obviously us speaking previously, you spent quite a lot of time in FMCG, retail, online, for the likes of JD Sports, Burberry. Obviously you've touched on Morrison's, and it's, taking you to some exotic places, no doubt. Preston, Leeds, Bradford, Bury, or Bury as I pronounce it in Yorkshire, but it'd be good just to understand obviously a bit more in terms of, you took the challenge at Morrison's. What did that lead on to, and sort of the sort of, the next step and journey from there?
Yeah, so at Morrison's, it was predominantly infrastructure project management that I was doing. So when I moved out of the service desk of that knowledge leader role into a junior PM, it was very then quickly into a full-time PM with a lot of changes that happened at Morrison's. And it was about five years there as a PM. And it was just me wanting to have a bit of a change. And Burberry were transitioning from London to Leeds for quite a lot of roles.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of got a bit of a applied for that role and successfully got that role, but it was more around moving into looking at a retail, but in a different way, going from fast moving goods to high end fashion, but also it was looking at it from a software point of view and wanting to experience and develop my career with understanding what something looked like outside of Morrison's. With being there for 9-10 years, I'd only known one way of working, so it was me trying to learn and develop other skills and how other companies work as well. And Burberry did give me a huge learning curve. Probably say rabbit in headlights to start off with. Purely the fact that I'd gone from a cookie cutter mode of every store being pretty similar, just different types of volume. So for instance, you had 7 tills in one store to 36 in another. Burberry being very much software, but 36 different countries, 4 different formats. You got to think about all the different types of legalization, physicalization, different types of governance, such as airports, malls, to incorporate into all that. So that becomes extremely complex in order to try and manage all the different types of delivery and dependencies that you're trying to deal with, because it's not just UK, it's global. So you've got different ways of working for different countries and different standards. And
but ultimately, go on, sorry.
And then ultimately within JD Sports, again, that was another move purely based on development of wanting to look at online sector.
So ultimately, you mentioned software almost as an enabler, like you said, different environments, different scenarios, different end products ultimately, but was, and is software seen as a facilitator, enabler in terms of, keeping the lights on, but also obviously generating income? And you've probably got other facets, your warehouse logistics, order fulfillment, web app, real lifetime sort of information. I mean, how does that all sort of fit together?
It's a big piece to look at, and you've got to look at it as a massive holistic view, really, because actually software does enable the ability to all these different areas and departments to hook into each other, whereas a lot of people seem to look at it as logistics is a logistics department, and for example, an abattoir is an abattoir, but they actually all combine together. If you think about where that product starts and the journey that product takes, it could go through 4 or 5 different departments before it even hits the customer, whether that's in a store or to their front door. So yeah, I do believe software is a huge enabler, but it's also probably then the last enabler that you need to look at. You need to look at it from a people process point of view, then understand what the software is trying to enable first.
And like you said, I mean, the size of the businesses you've worked at, there's probably a lot of software legacy platforms bolted together, which probably no doubt has its challenges as well.
Yeah, absolutely does. There's the companies that I've worked for, you can't get away from those legacy softwares. The biggest reasons behind that is they work, and it's a big risk to change those with the appetite not being there because it doesn't generate the revenue as such. People are looking at what's the next big thing from a software point of view, or how do we generate more revenue quickly? Because in FMG style ways, it's something that resonates with me. Is if you're not first out the door, you're last out the door. Whether you're second, third, fourth, if you're not that really high number one out there with that idea, you're going to get left behind, or you've lost some of the market because you've not been able to drill into that market as quickly as others.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt you've worked with some, pretty inspirational people. Is there any piece of advice or anything that resonates with your time at the businesses?
Yeah, I think there's 2 pieces that really stand out for me. One that I got very early on in project management was take the emotion out of anything. There's a lot where you'll find a lot of emotion, whether that's because you've not been able to do something or something's frustrating you, but take that emotion away. It's an easy word to say, not very easy to do. And the other one is something that's called the 3 C's. and we'll probably get into this a bit later on, but
Yeah.
it's more around if you're making something consistent, you're in control of that, which then gives confidence to you, but you also portray that confidence out to your stakeholders.
Interesting, yeah, and like I said, it's the world of PM has probably changed over many years, and like you say, you've come across different sort of environments and sectors. So, do you think your style as a project manager has changed over time, and if so, why?
Yeah, I think from my point of view, it's massively changed over the experiences that I've had. Probably started off more of a bit of a technical PM in terms of just making sure that the techie pieces were there and ready and available and fit for purpose. Whereas now, for me, it's more important to look at it from a people, process, and stakeholder management piece and understand what they're trying to achieve so that we can help them achieve that goal, rather than just being very drilled and militant in deliverables. It's how does it affect the company overall.
Yeah, interesting. And I know obviously you recently left the world of online commerce, retail, FMCG for law. So obviously just pulling from your experience. I mean, how have you found the transition?
Yeah, from the transition from retail online to law, if I'm being honest, it hasn't really shocked me as much as what I thought it might have. I had a bit of an inkling that there would be other challenges in terms of decisions being made, because you've got a lot of partners involved.
Yeah, sure.
In legal, so it's not just the one or two people at the top of the tree of an exec board in a retail, for instance, where you've got the CEO and his board members just to decide. And the other part is you freely have access to operational teams in retail, because ultimately that is their game, which is not as free. It's not as free in the world of law, but a lot of it is the same and very transferable skills. To be honest with you, dealing with legacy systems that I think every company deals with in every industry, and understanding how you can drive the objectives and the visions of the company. So there's no real differences from that point of view.
Yeah. Well, I know you touched the people, process, stakeholder management, so no doubt that's key. But I mean, aside from what you just sort of touched on briefly there, what would you say were the key differences in terms of the industries?
Key one being that it's looking at it from decision making. There's a lot more people involved in legal. You've also got certain attributes in retail which are more stronger. Like I said, the retail operations teams and the access to the knowledge of those people.
Yeah.
Because you can go to a shop floor or you could go to the ops team and they would have the knowledge already there. Whereas you're also dealing with the people in legal that are also trying to earn the money for the company and earn the revenue, but they're the people that know the business as well. So you've got a bit of a conflict of interest in terms of one side, yes, you need that detail, but you're taking them away from generating the revenue that's needed for the company at the same time.
Yeah, so dealing with sort of fee earners and that sort.
Yeah, the fee earners being very critical for the business because they're also putting in the money for the business to generate the revenue that allows us to then build on software or infrastructure projects to enable further visions for the company and the firms.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? And I suppose it's always challenge balancing that. But just in terms of, obviously, we've just touched on your project program management experience across, the various sectors. I've asked this to a few guests. So, in your view, project management, is it an art or a science?
I think it's a question that could be debated for hours and hours and hours, this one.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I think there's, if you split it down, you've got science, which is around your process, your tools, your data, and experience and proving. Now, there is massive parts of PMing in that world because of all the tools and processes that we have and all the data that we have and experience that we have. but also you've got the art side of it, which is your kind of visionary stakeholder negotiating skills. So I think it's not one or the other. I think it's a mixture. I think that's how we probably perform project management today, is we have a mixture. We don't just use one methodology. We take elements of different methodologies to suit the environment we're in at the time, to enable us to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. So it's a very, very large topic. That's lots and lots of discussions can be had on that.
No, absolutely. Like, as we mentioned previously, there is no sort of right and wrong, and you know, people's views and experiences will obviously, you know, differ. But yeah, just interested to get your thoughts and on that. Really, I mean, you've just touched on sort of stakeholder management, sort of key to program success. I mean, how do you sort of go about engaging, managing stakeholders with sort of diverse interests and priorities?
I think the key word there that you've mentioned is diverse interests, and it comes back to that piece at the beginning where empathy is huge in project management for me. You've got to look at it as what are they trying to achieve and why are they trying to achieve it, and how can you, as the PM or the program or the portfolio person, how can you help them achieve that goal or that vision? So it's all about understanding it from their side of things. And that's when you start then being able to break down those barriers that might be there, because you can lean on your experience, but also you've been told what they're trying to achieve and why they're trying to achieve it. So you can resonate to that a bit more. And that's where I think a closer relationship becomes valuable, and you can make that closer relationship with those stakeholders.
Yeah, and I suppose that's sort of coming back to the previous question, really, a mix of all of the above, you know, the art, the science, you got the process, the tools, the negotiating, communication, listening, like I say, you know, the people, processes, and stakeholder management, ultimately.
Absolutely. Like I said, a combination of all that will get you to being on the best path possible to be able to deliver the goals and the visions of who you're delivering for. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Well, just in terms of obviously any advice for people, you know, because like you say, you started out and you know, your journey's pretty much specific to yourself. So do you have any sort of advice for budding project managers starting out their sort of journey and taking their first steps, Anthony?
Yeah, big one for me is don't be afraid of mistakes. We all make mistakes. It's how you bounce back and learn from those mistakes. The more mistakes I've made, the more I've learned. The things that have gone really well, I've not learned that much from them because they've gone extremely well. And another big one, which is very easy to say but not easy to do, don't be afraid to have the difficult conversations. Back yourself in those areas. The sooner you do have those difficult sort of conversations, the weight that comes off your chest or your shoulders is massive. Because what you're not doing is you're not procrastinating and thinking of all the different angles and thought processes of, well, if I say that, that's going to mean this, that's going to do that. Yeah, get it off your chest as quickly as possible, but also have a mitigating plan or action in place and available.
So difficult questions, what, in terms of?
In terms of, it could be anything from a delay that can't be mitigated, but understanding and giving the reasons for that delay. Another piece is that you're going to have to go back with more ask from a financial point of view because something's not worked or not been right. Another example is you've gone into development too quickly rather than thinking about the designs. So another piece of information there is try and design or think of what it is that you're trying to achieve earlier and shifting left. So spend the most amount of time you can in that solutionizing, designing phase before moving into development as well.
The other interesting thing you mentioned about obviously learning from mistakes, I mean, we talk about this relatively often with people, and often I find is you actually learn more from your mistakes and not other people's.
Absolutely. I mean, I can go into several different types of mistakes I've made from not sharing communication, of not hitting a plan or deliverables for a certain part of a plan. and not sharing that soon enough. But yeah, absolutely resonates with it's your mistakes, but owning those mistakes
Yeah.
as well.
Well, that's it. Like you said, so we're all human at the end of the day, and these things do happen. But yeah, it's all about learning and moving forward, isn't it?
It certainly is. Yeah, I think the more that you learn, the better it is in terms of experience and driving forward your thought processes and becoming a better all-rounded person individually, inside and outside of work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Anthony, many thanks for your time and great talking today. So
Thank you very much, Ben. No, it's been brilliant talking to yourself. Thank you for
no,
having me.
it's been good for the insight, and obviously to the listeners, thanks for your time. And also it'd be good just to get your view on what's been discussed today. But obviously the ongoing question is project management and art or science. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed Talking Tech Journeys, and we'll catch you next time. Good company and colleagues in a career make the journey more rewarding. If you did enjoy, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favourite podcast platform. It really helps us reach more listeners like you. Don't forget to follow and join the Talking Tech Journeys podcast group on LinkedIn, where you can join in debate and message us directly if you'd like to be considered as a guest, have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions. You can also email ben.whiteley@bpmtech.co.uk. Until next time, enjoy your journey.